What an amazing audience. I'm privileged to be sharing this moment with you and the most inspirational presence of Maryam Rajavi at this meeting. It is really an honor and privilege for me. As someone who has visited Iran in an official capacity as UN Rapporteur some time ago, I have witnessed firsthand how gendered subordination and misogynist laws and attitudes have been woven into the fiber of the Islamic Republic, which is one of its most distinguishing features. Women of all standings were at the forefront of the 1979 revolution in anticipation of a free Iran. But only 2 days before the commemoration of International Women's Day, Khomeini started announcing measures that signaled the rollback in women's rights. Among these were decree dismissing all women judges, barring women students from attending law schools, instituting compulsory veiling, among others. Since 1979, the hijab came to symbolize the relationship between women's resistance on the one hand and the mullah's gender politics on the other. The hijab is somewhat of a barometer indicating the direction and the intensity of the strain between the two. The murder of Mahsa Amini, simply because she was not wearing the veil properly, struck a nerve throughout Iran, bringing together different segments of the society around a common goal. A collective claim united around the slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom," shattered the 4-decade rule of the clergy. Iranian sociologists describe this awakening as a global Iran, as if a new Iran has been born. While the protests were leaderless, there was a clear aim against gendered apartheid, declining standards of living of the masses, and oppressive, corrupt governance. Despite the countless attempts of the Islamic State to wind back the clock, gender relations have continued to change over the years. Iran today is not what it was back in 1979. Today, Iran is highly urbanized. Literacy of adult literacy in particular is 100%. Women are highly educated, outnumbering their male counterparts in higher education. Average age of marriage for women has increased, and most importantly, fertility rates are down to 2.1 births per woman from 6.5 in 1979. The adoption of strict regulations on abortion and birth control by the regime in 2021 to push women back into domestic and childbearing roles only made them more defiant and determined to fight back. Iranian women have a long history in resilience and struggle for emancipation from prohibitions imposed by law and misogynist practices. Therefore, today's protests are, in a way, the outcome of nearly 2 centuries of struggle for civil rights. Women have demonstrated a strong will of resistance in their everyday life and have been part of every major demonstration since the beginning of the Islamic Republic. They participated in the 2009 Green Movement, which was largely an urban middle-class movement. They were in the forefront of 2018 mass protests against high inflation and government corruption, and the 2019 second wave of mass protests against the hike of oil prices and water shortage. However, the 2022 protests seem to be different from these previous ones. There is a common understanding among analysts that there has been a paradigm shift towards claiming life from a regime that has colonized lives and hijacked the country's future for over 40 years. Women are major players of the recent protests, but they have been joined by urban middle class, the middle class, poor, slum dwellers, and people of different geographies, ethnic and religious identities. The slogan, "Woman, Life, Freedom," led to a collective sentiment of Iranians, and the streets served as contentious space for ordinary people to demand for an end to the regime. It has also inspired women from around the world, where everywhere, we women have joined the Iranian woman in their strife and in cutting hair to symbolize our disobedience to the impositions. Iranian women are recognized now, no doubt, by everyone as a transformative force, not only within Iran, but by everyone across the globe. Obviously, no social group on its own can succeed to shift power, which is so entrenched. But change requires a coalition of the oppressed groups and classes. However, the recent protests have made it very clear that the woman question is a strategic site, and women are a strategic actor in the struggle for change in Iran. Change cannot come without the Iranian woman. The regime is well aware of the increasing power of the women's movement, particularly now that its cause has converged with protests over economic and ethnic grievances. The regime will no doubt not stay idle in such realization, and it will do its best to suppress this power, as it was evidenced during the protests, where hundreds of lives were lost, including more than 60 women. In the past 3 months, hundreds of schoolgirls have been hospitalized due to poisoning. In at least 52 schools in 10 provinces across the country. Although denied by the authorities, many believe that this is a deliberate attempt to force the closure of girls' schools. Families who are rightfully worried for the life of their children may be inclined to withdraw their girls from schools. This will be an end to women's dream for education, because if elementary school and secondary school level education is denied to girls, there will be no further educational opportunities. These are serious assaults on women, and women cannot, however, it cannot overshadow the fact that the 2022 uprising constitutes a victory. It has changed Iran in an irreversible way. The congregation of middle and working classes, ethnic and religious groups around the claim of life and freedom has changed the regime in a very significant way. As one analyst wrote, the protest has brought Iran to the verge of pronouncing a death sentence on the theocratic regime that has ruled for more than 4 decades. Iranian women's cause and their destiny has a bearing on the destiny of women around the world, whose lives are threatened in fundamental ways, in very similar ways around the world. Therefore, the struggle of women in Iran is relevant and is the cause of women's struggle globally. Gender equality is a global concern that threats women's rights and democracy. And these are interconnected issues. Subordination of women and transgression on their control over their own body and lives are central features of all authoritarianism, whether in the West or East, North or South, as revealed by the rise of restricted laws and practices against reproductive rights and LGBT rights. And we see this in countries across the globe. Women are therefore forging a united front against the rise of misogynist, autocratic, one-man rule that is spreading across the globe. I would like to end by quoting from a Tunisian poet who said, "If one day people demand life, then destiny will have to respond." I wish with all my heart that the days of a democratic Iran is in the coming, in my lifetime, I hope. And I will say again, Jin Jian Azadi.